So you all know the famous song by Benny Friedman. Okay, it's a commercial. Tamur'u Kitev Hashem, Kitev Havaya. A posuk in Tehillim. Taste and you will see that God is good. Which is kind of the same puzzle. Positive Judaism, what? Judaism by itself is negative? What does it mean? Taste and you will see that God is good. And if you don't taste, you have to do something special, get a taste, and what will you discover? That He's good. And what were you thinking? This is a chiddush? You have to do something special to discover that He's good? So the deeper meaning of it is this. When we say a good person, what exactly does that mean? What's a good person? They say, Chsidei Umay Sa'olam, the righteous Gentile. What is a righteous? What's a good person? If he doesn't commit any crimes, is he a good person? So you have, for example, two people giving tzedakah. A lot of tzedakah. Giving tzedakah is definitely a good thing. But are the people who are giving the tzedakah, are they good people? Bad people can give tzedakah. So how do we know who's a good person? So when we say that person is good, we mean in addition to doing good, the person himself is good. But what does that consist of? So the two people giving tzedakah. One gives tzedakah because he believes that tzedakah is a good thing. He's convinced that it's the right way to give back to the community. You can't just take, you have to give also. Tzedakah makes a lot of sense. It's a very moral, correct thing to do. So he gives tzedakah. Is he a good person? Not necessarily. But he knows a good thing when he sees it. He knows that tzedakah is a good thing. That's not from the Chasidei Umay Sa'olam. That's not a righteous Gentile. That's what the Gemara says, Chesed L'umim Chatos. That the kindness that non-Jews do is because they believe in it, not because they are good. But a righteous Gentile is good. So what is the good person? He gives tzedakah because he can't imagine, it doesn't make sense to him. Why should I have what to eat when the other person doesn't? So if you ask him, do you think tzedakah is a big mitzvah? Mitzvah, I don't know. But the guy's hungry. That's a good person. Because what it means is that he is able to put someone else before himself. The other person's hunger is more important than my hunger. I don't have what to eat, I'll manage. But the other person should not go hungry. That's Gutzkeit. Tamur'u, taste and you'll see that the Eibishter is good. It's not because we otherwise assume that he's not good. We know that he does good. Teva Teva Heitiv. He created the world out of goodness. He keeps us going out of goodness. He gives us what we have out of goodness. He does a lot of good. And for that, we have to thank him. But if you taste, if you go a little deeper, and you look a little closer, you will see he doesn't just do a lot of good. He is good. Which means he puts you before himself. You're more important to him than he is to himself. And that's probably where we get it from. So what is goodness? Goodness means the ability to put someone else before yourself. So So there's a children's story, a frum children's little book, in which it tells a story about a kid who, his class would go to the old age home to entertain the old folks, and he hated it. He didn't see what the purpose is. The old people look scary and they smell funny, and he didn't like it. Most of those people, their own children don't come to see them. So he never appreciated the trips. But one time, he was standing there with his class, and they were singing a song, and he noticed an old man in a wheelchair was staring at him. And by the end of the song, the old man was smiling. So this is how the story is told in the storybook. He came home after that, and he told his mother, "Now I understand. Because this old man was first very serious and sad, and then by the end of the song he was smiling, and I realized that I had done a very big mitzvah." That is not a good story. What did he realize? That he did a mitzvah. That's not good. It's true, what he did is a mitzvah, but this is not a good kid. If his reaction is, "I did a mitzvah," that's not Gutzkeit. Gutzkeit means, I hated what I was doing, but the old man was so happy, and that's worth everything. Put the other person before yourself. But to tell a child, if you can make a sad man happy or a lonely man happy, you did a mitzvah? That's not right. Like the mitzvah of Avos Yisrael. The mitzvah of Avos Yisrael means to love a Jew, not to do the mitzvah of Avos Yisrael. So if you're very frum, then you love all Jews. If you're moderately frum, you love most Jews. If you're barely frum, you hate all Jews. That's wrong. There are people who love Jews who aren't frum at all. They love Jews. And that's what is required. V'ahavta l'reacha kamecha doesn't mean do mitzvahs. It means love Jews even if it's not a mitzvah, because the Jew is important. So you want to talk about happiness? It's so sad that we have to get together on special occasions to talk about happiness, which means that our default position is depressed. So unless you can convince me to be happy, I'm not. And I refuse to be. Okay, so let me try to convince you. Isn't it funny that the Torah has to say, when the month of Adar comes in, you have to increase joy. We have to actually have a commandment to be happy. How depressing is that? So let's see what happiness is. There was a writer, Isaac Bashevis Singer, not the biggest tzaddik in the world. And I think he would be the first to admit it. He wrote in Yiddish strange stories, which you probably shouldn't read. But he was a delightful person. He won the Nobel Prize for literature. And you know, it's a pompous affair that is. So here he is accepting the Nobel Prize in Stockholm, in the presence of the king and the queen and all these, and it was probably the first time in the history of the Nobel Prize that he actually made a funny, humorous speech. Nothing pompous, nothing arrogant. It was a pleasure. So he says like this, and he speaks with a heavy accent, which I'll try to mimic. Your Majesty, ladies and gentlemen, people often ask me why I write in a dying language. Because he wrote in Yiddish. So I want to explain it in a few words. First, I like to write ghost stories. And there's no more appropriate language for a ghost story than a dying language. You look at the crowd, they're like, was that a joke? They can't believe this. This is the Nobel Prize. Secondly, he says, I believe in the resurrection, that the Messiah is going to come very soon, and Yiddish-speaking corpses are going to get up from the grave, and their first question is going to be, are there any good Yiddish books to read? This time they laugh. It's an amazing humility, but it gets even better. He says, I did not expect to win the Nobel Prize, but the journalists, the reporters came to my house. And they asked me, were you surprised? Are you happy? So since I did not want to get into a discussion about what happiness is, I said, yes, I'm surprised, I'm happy. This went on for 15 minutes, and then there was a pause. And another journalist came, and he said, were you surprised? Are you happy? So I said, how long can a man be surprised? And how long can a man be happy? I've already been surprised, I've already been happy, now I'm the same schlemiel that I was before. That's the definition of happiness. The definition of happiness is a person who can laugh at himself under all circumstances. Because if you can't laugh at yourself, you're not happy. As soon as you start to wonder, what am I, where am I, what's happening to me, you're already not happy. If you can dismiss it, that's an amazing thing. Happiness is the result of gratitude. This everybody agrees. If you don't feel grateful, then you don't have occasion to be happy. Because if everything is correct, you worked for an hour, you got paid for an hour. What is there to be happy about? If you didn't get paid, you wouldn't be sad, you would be outraged. It's an injustice. I work for an hour, I don't get paid. So if you do get paid, there's no outrage, but there's no happiness either. So happiness is the result of gratitude. There is a philosophy, a modern day philosophy, that says in order to be happy, here's what you have to do. Lower your expectations. Don't expect anything. If you go interview for a job, don't expect to get it. You get married, don't expect to be happy. You have children, don't expect any nachas. Because you'll be disappointed and then you won't be happy. So lower your expectations. So anytime something does happen, you'll be grateful and you'll be happy. But lowering your expectations itself can make you a little depressed. What, I can't expect anything good? That's kind of depressing. So to balance it, here's what you have to do. Know for sure that you deserve every success. You deserve to get the job. You deserve to have nachas from your children. You deserve to have a happy marriage. Just don't expect it. So that way, you'll be in a good mood because you know you deserve everything, and you won't be disappointed because you didn't expect it. This guy is serious about this. And he says, I live like that, and I'm the happiest man I know. Because he's also famous and rich, but let's not even talk about that. The truth is the exact opposite. This feeling or this thought, I deserve, destroys all happiness. You see it in today's generation. There was never a generation more convinced that they deserve than the young people of today. And they're the least happy generation. In fact, every commercial, if you listen to it, it's annoying and it's upsetting and it's destructive. Every commercial tells you that you deserve. Buy this product because you deserve. It's a little more expensive, but you deserve. A hair product. Buy this hair product because you deserve beautiful hair. Buy this sleep product because you deserve a good night's sleep. And try to figure out, what do I need to do to deserve hair? What? If you're nice to your mother, you deserve hair. I don't know what that means. And how is this PC? How dare you say that some people deserve hair? How does it make bald people feel? I don't even deserve hair. But today's children grow up with this message, and they're convinced that they deserve. So anytime they don't get what they want, there's no justice. I mean, if you can't even get what you deserve, what kind of world is this? So they give up on the world. Their grandparents went through a Holocaust, and they came out excited about life. But today's kids, if they don't get the newest toy, life stinks. Because the message is you deserve. So in order to be happy, you have to do exactly the opposite. First of all, be absolutely certain that you deserve nothing. Not because you did anything wrong. Life is for free. We don't deserve to be born. It's for free. We don't deserve anything we get when we're children, and yet we get it for free. So to think I deserve more than I already have, even what I have already I didn't deserve. It's for free. Does that feel a little depressing? Then balance it. Along with the conviction that you don't deserve anything, you have to be absolutely confident that you will succeed at everything. On what grounds? Well, so far you got everything for free. Why would the Eibishter stop now? So you can expect to get the job when you interview for it. You expect to have nachas from your children, not because you deserve, but because the best things in life come for free. So now, if you get the job, you are grateful because it's more than you deserve. That's real gratitude. If you don't get the job, I don't deserve it, I can't demand it, so I'll get something else. That's a happy person. Happiness means feeling that you're getting more than you deserve. If you feel like you're getting more than you need, it makes you feel rich. It's a different feeling. Affluence, wealth, is a very nice thing. And it comes from the conviction that I have more than I need. That's called wealthy. But if I have more than I deserve, that's called grateful. And that's what produces happiness. So, we expect all good things because Tamu U'Re'u Ki Toiv Havaya. The Eibishter is good, and so far he's given you everything for free, and he will continue to give you. Of course, this only applies to ourselves. I can say I don't deserve. I can't say that about somebody else. So I want to tell you this little story. Maybe you've heard it already. Years ago, I was invited to speak in South America or Argentina. Yes, you know the story? Just yesterday. Let me refresh your memory.
He deserves it.
The story is a good story. It deserves to be told. So, living in Minnesota, I have to fly from Minnesota to New York, New York to Miami, Miami to someplace in South America, and then from there to Buenos Aires. It was a miserable flight. And I hate to fly anyway, and if you've been flying lately, it's not a pleasure. So I finally land. I think it took about 12 hours or more, just a flying time. And I just couldn't wait. The shliach picks me up at the airport, takes me to the hotel room, I recover, and then go to work. So I'm looking forward to that hotel room desperately. Sure enough, he picks me up, we're in the car, we're driving to the hotel. As we're driving, he says, by the way, there's a woman here in the community who had a terrible tragedy. She's severely depressed. She hasn't left her apartment in over 6 months, and she refuses to talk to anybody. But she finally agreed to talk to you, so we arranged to stop on the way to the hotel room. We'll stop at her apartment and you'll talk to her. I was thrilled. I mean, the opportunity to do a big mitzvah. Right? First of all, I was upset by, what do you mean you'll talk to her? She's severely depressed. But more, it bothered me. They didn't tell me, they didn't warn me, they didn't ask me. They just went ahead and made the arrangements. So I was really, really unhappy with this, to put it mildly. But she's expecting us. So we went. I come into the apartment, and this woman looks terrible, terrible. It's like all the life had gone out of her. And she was a walking corpse. And this very dull, lifeless voice, she tells me the story. 19-year-old son was driving back from the summer cottage, coming back into town, to get back in time for Slichas out of Rosh Hashanah. And there was an accident. 3 other boys in the car survived, and her son did not. And then she tells me how special he was, and how respectful and considerate and kind, and every virtue in the book. So she finishes. So what can I say? I said, that's amazing. Such an incredible boy. And you had him for 19 years. She was not impressed. So I said, the shock is horrible. A perfectly healthy boy. But imagine if there were no shock. If God had come to you without surprises, and if God had said to you, there is this neshama, an incredible soul, a delightful, holy neshama, and it needs to come down to this world for 19 years, and I'm looking for someone to be his mother. And he asks you, would you please be his mother for 19 years? What would you have said? Now, I was sure that she would say yes. Most people would if they're not severely depressed. She said, I would say absolutely not. So caught by surprise, I said, well then, it's a good thing he didn't ask you. I don't know why that had an effect on her, but the flood of tears opened up, and she cried like you've never seen anybody cry. 6 months of tears. For 20 minutes, it just poured out of her. And 20 minutes later, she came alive. The life came back in her eyes, color came into her face. She spoke like a normal human being, not like a hollow shell. She was back among the living. It was the most meaningful, the most dramatic, the most awesome experience. To literally see a person come back to life. So now we're back in the car, going to the hotel room. And I realized that I was very upset that nobody asked me. Why didn't you at least ask me? And I realized that if they had asked me, I would have said, absolutely not. And that would have been the wrong answer. So it was good that they didn't ask. In fact, most of the significant things that I've ever done, nobody asked me. And if they had asked me, I would have said, no. You want a little challenge in your life? Absolutely not. Why would I want that? You want to fight the odds, swim upstream for a little bit? No, why would I want that? We would be such useless creatures, so it's so good that he doesn't ask. So how do you maintain happiness? Number one, we don't deserve anything. Everything we have is an occasion for gratitude. Maybe we don't always recognize that, we don't always feel that, but it's so true. In fact, we make brachas in the morning that seem a little trivial. Thank you for giving me shoes. Thank you for making me stand up straight. Thank you for giving me energy in the morning. Things that we take for granted. But Titus says, don't take it for granted. Make a bracha and thank God for all these things because they're for free. The least you can do is say thank you. But also, the things we don't expect, the things that he puts on our plate without asking, for that alone we should also be happy. It is so exciting if you allow yourself to feel it. It is so exciting to know that insignificant human beings who would always embarrass themselves with the wrong answer are protected from that embarrassment because he doesn't ask. And he obviously has more confidence in us than we have in ourselves. So whatever he puts on our plate, it's a kindness. Not only that he puts it there, but that he didn't ask. So from now on, or from then on, I'm trying to have this attitude. Whatever the question is, the answer is absolutely yes. So what is the joy of life? The joy of life is we are guests in a magnificent universe. It's not our world, but we're invited. And not only are we guests, but we're actually given freedom of choice. We can be partners. We can help perfect this magnificent universe. What we do matters. It counts. So this father in Israel calls me, this is very recently. I don't know him, he doesn't know me, I don't know where he got my number. And he says, I have a very serious problem. My 12-year-old daughter is convinced that God is angry at her. A frum girl. She's convinced that the Abish is angry at her, and she's depressed. And without asking, he puts her on the phone. He says, talk to her. They already spoke to every psychologist and every rabbi and every... So again, the same thing, like, what are you doing? I don't know her, I have no idea what's going on. We had a 5-minute conversation and he puts her on the phone. So I said, you think God is angry at you? She says, yeah. I said, wow, I'm so jealous. He's angry at you? When did you become so important? She says, what? I said, you're 12 years old, and something you did is so important that the Eibishter is angry at you? I'm so jealous. Problem is over. Now she runs around telling her friends, God's angry at me. At you. It is such a compliment if the Eibishter could be angry at me. Is there a greater compliment than that? First of all, I matter at all. And not only do I matter, something I did is so important, so significant, that it actually makes him angry. What kind of power do I have? That's part of the happiness. When you're living in someone else's kitchen, and you're upset because they didn't give you dessert, you don't realize where you are. If it was your house, and for some reason you can't have dessert in your own house, then you should be upset. What do you mean I can't have? It's my dessert. I can't have my dessert. But if you're in somebody else's house and they give you a 6-course meal and you're expecting dessert, and for whatever strange reason, they don't believe in dessert. So what are you upset? Where's my dessert? In your house, you'll have your dessert. But in somebody else's house, you say thank you for whatever you're given. So we're living in God's world. He takes us very seriously. He can even be angry at a 12-year-old. See, that's the key. Everybody else argued with her. No, he's not angry at you. Why would he be? He loves you. She was convinced, for whatever reason, and probably for a good reason, that she did something wrong and he's angry. Why are you arguing? But describe what that means. The creator of the whole universe noticed you, 12-year-old little girl living in Eretz Yisrael, and got so upset by what you did. That's such a compliment. So whatever happens, even if he's angry at us, we're thrilled. So when it comes to Purim time, why do we increase joy? What's an occasion for increase? Life is great. You're living for free in somebody else's world and he keeps giving you stuff. What is there to complain about? So how do you increase? The reason Purim is an increase, not like Simchas Torah. Simchas Torah, you have to be happy. It doesn't say you have to increase. The reason, obviously, is because the miracle of Purim was not obvious. If we can find the non-obvious reasons for being happy, that's an increase. So the whole mystery of the story of Purim, where the Eibishter's name is not mentioned at all in the whole story, the fact that the Yidden at that time were inspired in their Yiddishkeit. By what? Haman tried, he failed. Not the first politician to fail. So, what's the big deal? It was good, Esther was there, very convenient, and she said the right thing, and she got him hanged. Good. What's the great inspiration? So really the miracle of Purim is not what happened. It's how the Yidden responded. There was no obvious miracle. There was no event at Har Sinai. We were given the Torah. What a joy. There was nothing obvious. But when we can see the kindness and the generosity that the Eibishter gives us, undeserving and unnoticed, no drama, then there's an increase in joy. So when those things happen that we would not have wanted, and we don't see how it's a benefit, and we don't see how it's a blessing, we actually think the Eibishter is angry at us. When we can find the joy in that, that's the Simcha of Purim. The hiddenness. And yet we see it. That is an increase in joy. So, to be happy, be convinced we don't deserve anything. We're already so indebted to the Eibishter just for life itself that we'll never repay even that. And that's why Yaakov said, "Kotinti mikol achsadim." The Eibishter was being so generous with him, he was getting upset, he was getting worried. How am I ever going to repay you? Stop already. I'm running up such a bill. And on the other hand, every blessing, every success, every pleasure, every nachas, we should expect and we will have, because the Eibishter's kindness is endless and infinite, and if he brought you this far, he will take you the rest of the way. So expect everything good, and if it's not obvious, it's still good, and there's reason to be happy. And when those things happen that you didn't ask for, that's an increase in joy, because even that is an amazing compliment. So when we read in the Torah, God gets angry and he punishes and he screams at us. And so one final story. We had at Beis Chana years ago an amazing incident. A woman from Canada whose entire family was totally Orthodox, but she was a born-again Christian. And somehow they lived like this for 10 years. She was into Christianity and the family was frum. So they finally convinced her to come to Beis Chana to Minnesota. Every conversation, she threw in something about Christianity, and I ignored her. Finally, she got upset. She says, "How come everybody else can ask questions and you don't let me ask questions?" So I said, "Because I don't talk to anti-Semites." She says, "Anti-Semite? I'm Jewish." So we got into a heavy, ugly, nasty conversation, a shouting match. And it literally lasted the entire night. It started around 10 o'clock. It went till the morning. Some of the other women stayed. Also, everyone was attacking her and making fun of her, and she smiled through the whole thing with that fake smile. Finally, we're all exhausted, and we decided to go down for coffee. As we're walking down the stairs, I noticed that she's trembling. So I said, "You really can't handle staying up all night, huh?" She says, No. I'm trembling because I'm scared." All night she was saying, "No, God is love. God is love. You don't have to do anything. Don't keep any commandments. He'll take you to heaven. He loves you. He loves you." And here she's trembling. I said, "Well, what are you afraid of? If you don't accept Christianity, that's bad. But if you do accept it and then reject it, that's worse." So I said, "If you don't accept it, you go to hell forever. What could be worse?" She said, "I don't know, but I'm scared." I said, "Isn't that amazing? We sit around and talk about schar and einish and punishment and we don't tremble. And you talk about love and love and love, and you're shaking like a leaf." This guy, I want to show you something. I pick up a chumash, and I turn it to the parsha with the teichacha. She never read through the chumash. So I said, "Read this." She starts reading. She says, "Oh, this is terrible." I said, "Keep reading, it gets worse." She reads through the whole parsha, and she's in shock. She said, "This is horrible." I said, "You know, we read it out loud in public every year. And you know what we do after we finish reading it? Yeah, we have kiddush, a little herring, a kichel. And we say good Shabbos and we go home." And you are told that God is nothing but love and love and love, and look at you. The difference is this. They're told that God loves you, but God is a stranger. So if he stops loving you, oh yeah, you're in trouble. So the love is a condition. He loves you, but watch it. Because if he stops loving you, you go to hell forever. When we read it, we know who's saying it. He's our Father in heaven. He's our God. Anechi Hashem Elekecha. I am yours. I'm all yours. And what is the end of the Teichacha? We're gonna go through a horrible time, and then we will come back, and we'll begin. And it's gonna be great because I never give up on you. So that's what we hear. So we go through the Teichacha. Yeah, it's terrible, terrible, terrible. But who's talking? The Eibishter? He's gonna fight with us? Even when we're very, very bad, he's gonna argue with us? Not just walk away and say, who cares? That is so comforting. That's so Jewish. So Purim is coming, and there's actually a mitzvah to increase in joy. But not by doing a mitzvah, but by appreciating life, appreciating the Eibishter's devotion to us. And if you think he's angry at you, who made you so important?